Clinton Things back again live. Today we have wife, mother, owner of CrossFit Babylon, pregnancy, postpartum, and pelvic floor expert, founder of Fitness Through Motherhood. And I'm sorry if I got that wrong on the description. I apologize. But ladies and gentlemen, Trish Evangelista, thank you for coming to hang out with us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Colleen and I connected probably about 3 years ago now, maybe.
Wow, has it been that long?
I think so. Because it was relatively soon, I think, after COVID. Yeah, I think it's been, yeah. It might even be longer, to be honest, with time at this point.
That's amazing because I don't feel like it's been that long, but it's a reminder that time just continues to move on so fast. It just goes by so, wow, 3 years already? Wow, that's a throwback. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah. And I had walked into the gym, the CrossFit affiliate that you were coaching at, right? And that was kind of how we had a connection because you were helping moms. I was helping moms. We had a further conversation about, right? And then you went and took the one certification that I took and you came to my seminar too, right?
Yes. So I started that process, but I was kind of going through some stuff. So I started the pelvic floor certificate. I never finished it. That is something that is on my list to finish. I would like to finish that, but being able to come in to your seminar was a great perspective. I got my own pelvic floor appointment, went in, got some information on that, and really followed that for a little while. I did take a step back from that, like I said, just because life was too crazy, but we connected because I was coaching, and then you saw my flyer on the board, and you were like, hey, is that you? And I was like, yes, that's me. And, I was doing that for a little while, and then decided to kind of put my business, my personal business, kind of on the shelf for a little bit. I really needed to take care of myself. I really needed to get my shit together, especially with our son. With his diagnosis, he's autistic, he's on the spectrum, ADHD, and all that type of stuff. And I really realized that if he was going to thrive, I needed to get my shit together. And so I really had to put that on the shelf. And honestly, right now, it's the best choice that I made because I was able to invest my time, my money, and my energy in getting my shit together so that I could be there with him. I'm not saying it won't come back, but I'm still personal training. I'm just closer to home now. I'm not in a CrossFit gym anymore. I personal train at the boxing gym that we're members of. The owners are fantastic and allow me to kind of just come in and support people where they need it. But one day, maybe. One day, maybe.
And again, any knowledge is good knowledge in this realm with pelvic floor therapy and helping. Again, and honestly, it doesn't just impact women. We can go into that further along, but everyone's got a pelvic floor. Anybody with any type of education, whether it's a certification or coming to a seminar or listening to a podcast as a coach in any realm is very relevant to the world today.
And I say any knowledge is good knowledge. Learning anything, even if you get a little bit here, a little bit there, whatever. I got a nutrition certification through Precision Nutrition, but I still coach and support basic minimum. Keep it simple, protein, that kind of stuff. And it's just enough to be able to continue to support my people. And a reminder for myself, because, as a coach, we don't follow our own advice, but that's a whole nother conversation different day. But it's nice to kind of lean on those tools of and ask the questions. Hey, I see that you do it this way. Why do you do it that way? Explain it to me, teach me, kind of thing. So I agree with you. I think any knowledge is great knowledge.
Definitely.
Hey, I want to know your timeline a little bit, Trish, because I think I've seen a couple of pieces of podcasts that you've done, but what's the timeline? Wife, business owner, mom, you started your own business, Fitness Through Motherhood. What was kind of the timeline? Wife first, then business?
Yeah. I mean, it was always CrossFit first. So we'll throw that in there. CrossFit has been in my life now for about 13 or 14 years. My husband and I met probably about 12 years ago when my first round of CrossFit drama as a member at a gym elevated. And then I became a coach. So he got to see that from the outside looking in. So he's been a part of CrossFit, but from the outside, just as my partner. We got married in April of 2019. October 2019, we closed on the gym. So we had purchased an existing affiliate. That timeline right after that, I had ran the Berlin and Chicago marathon within a 2-week period. Was probably the fittest I shouldn't say ever because I feel fitter now and stronger than ever, but I was extremely fit pre-baby. We found out we were pregnant about 4 to 5 days before Christmas. So December 2019, call it December 20th, I found out I was pregnant. And then March 16, 2020, the world shuts down and my gym gets closed down. I also had a full-time job. We had lost our full-time job. I had lost my full-time job plus my health insurance through that whole thing. If you listen to previous podcasts, the full story's there. But everything I had gone through in my pregnancy and postpartum journey really left me like hanging as a female gym owner, a female CrossFit affiliate owner, coach. Because I was like, damn, I was like, we still kind of like don't have really answers. We have guidance, but there's really not anybody who's like really dialed into this except a few people. And I knew owning my business, having a lot of young families, I wanted to get more into it. And then I would say fitness through motherhood kind of like naturally came along. So again, like the gyms 2019, 2020, 2021, we're still in our old location. 2020, am I trying to figure this out myself? 2022, we actually moved locations. So about 800 meters away, we moved down the block. And then I would say 2022, yeah, it had to be 2022 was when Fitness Through Motherhood, like the idea of it, of running these group classes for moms to bring their babies and the toddlers into a safe space, started. So the first group would probably be, I really should figure this one out. It's got to be March 2023 was when we first, or February 2023 was when we first launched FTM. And my mom's, hopefully if they're on here, they'll chat in here and be like, no, you're wrong. It was February, but I don't know. But yeah, and then I trademarked, essentially I got Fitness Through Motherhood, realized it was successful, realized that there was something more to this. And it wasn't just about the pregnancy and postpartum era, but I'm going to be doing this my whole long term. I'm a mother. We have the great M word to look forward to in the future called menopause. And I wanted to create pretty much like a systemized foundation for moms, no matter where they're at, whether they're a CrossFitter, whether they're a dancer, yoga, whatever it is, that there's just a foundation to help them find that stepping stone back into whatever they want that fitness journey to be. It's so hard for so many of us to get back to it. And especially if there's more than one baby involved and you feel like back-to-back pregnancies. I was in a group today with postpartum moms and one of them said, you know, I don't want to get fit again before I have that second baby. And I think a lot of us can relate to that, and I know I can, that like, you don't want to put in all that hard work because your whole body's going to change again. And what's the purpose and what's the why? And, you know, that's where I really think there's value in FTM and helping these moms understand like, yeah, I get it. I've been there. But at the same time, if you have a toddler at home and you're pregnant now, we need to help you feel good and have that energy to be able to run around while you're pregnant, because they're not going to stop the 10 months that baby's growing in your belly. So yeah, sorry, Jay, I know it went like.
No, that's cool. I want to bring you back, but I will definitely hit you up when that menopause things happen because I'm like, 7 years away from that shit. But what's the idea like when you guys when you get married or you're together? How do you guys kind of start the gym together? Do you start it together? Do you start it by yourself? Is it yours first?
Yeah, he honestly just started CrossFitting within the last 6 months of his life, like consecutive. I finally got him hooked. Like, it's a huge win. We got him to take his L1. He passed the level 1. He's like, he fully is dialed in now as a father. Not anything more than that. Like, why am I doing this? What is my purpose? What is the reason behind this? It's making him feel good. He feels more energized. He is now making those decisions so naturally, and it makes me so proud. But Babylon CrossFit's my baby. Fitness Through Motherhood is my baby. I call him the HQ or the facility manager. He comes in when the floors are rolling up and I need someone to cut them, or there's something I can't manually do myself that I need some assistance with, or it takes more than one person. But essentially I took our wedding money and made an asset sale with it and bought the equipment, and he trusted me, and thankfully he did, because I was able to pay us back and we're okay and everything worked out. But he believed in me more than I probably, and still does, more than I probably do myself. And it just kind of like was something that he knew I really, really wanted, and I wouldn't like fail us as a family.
What's that like, having a partner like that believes in you more than you probably did yourself? Like, how do you get there? What are those conversations? Are there hard conversations in there?
Am I going to cry less than 10 minutes?
Probably.
Yeah, you might have done it already. I don't think I've realized, I mean, not that I've never realized the value in the how lucky I am for the relationship I have with my husband, Steve. But I think more and more that I deal with moms, and not just moms, but fathers within the gym, and you hear the outside struggles and the relationship struggles, and, talking to so many moms who are raising newborns, and, their partners aren't always there for them, or they don't understand the night feeds, or they don't understand the hormonal changes we're all going through, made me appreciate him even more. I don't think I understand how lucky I am. And anybody who meets me and knows how passionate and dramatic and loud and inappropriate I can be, he's like the better half. He's my balance. He's the, hey, Trish, bring it back down. But there's a reason we're married. And if you wake the beast, he's there. You really got to tap hard to get him out.
Yes. Yes. And she said it perfectly. When I met you, seeing you come to the gym, you had that confidence, you had that energy about yourself, but meeting you in your baby at Babylon CrossFit and having those very passionate conversations with you, I could feel it like pouring out of you, how important CrossFit is and how important your community is. And then especially talking about moms that, we connected on that level of being mothers, of we don't talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about it. We're still stuck in these boxes of like, when you're pregnant, don't do anything. Sit down, because that's how generations before, one, had the option, and also didn't have the information that it's safe to have the correct form of fitness to support that. And when you're strong enough and you have the foundations of movement to be able to carry a healthier pregnancy, have an easier delivery for some people, and then be there for your kid and be able to recover after that. We're not allowed to have that conversation. It's like a stigma almost. So is your passion for starting FTM, was that your own personal like drive from your own personal experience, or was it literally just from having conversations of moms and looking around and being like, there's more for us?
It was definitely more my personal story than anything, because there was so much trauma driven with me. I think the easiest way to explain this to is, so like, I've had the opportunity to go on courses now with Anthony Lowe. So I've been to Florida. He hosted one at Babylon CrossFit, and he invited me in as a instructor. I'm like an intern, co-teacher of his. And I'm in a room, and I'm sitting in a room of professionals, right? OBGYNs, physical therapists, doulas, OTs, all different types of realms. Like, his course is open to anybody. And as I sit there and I share, like, there's people like, well, women can't start CrossFit pregnant in their first or second trimester if they've never CrossFit before. And I'm just sitting there and I'm cringing. And I'm just like, you know what? Like,
using your hands right down here.
I'm waiting to the right time. I'm like, and Anthony looks at me because he knows that's the first thing that gets me like going. Or a CrossFitter needs to stop when they're pregnant. Those two conversations trigger me because I was very suicidal in my pregnancy. Like, if you talk to my husband, you talk to one of my girlfriends, you talk to the founder of the nesting place, like, I would make phone calls to them being like, I just don't want to be here anymore. I don't understand this. Like, I've always wanted a baby. I'm so grateful. I know it's not easy. Not everyone gets pregnant, but like, for whatever reason, like, I just can't accept that this is happening. And I've never been so miserable. So that outlet right there of doctors and people in this realm, and these people that think they're experts are in this realm of pregnancy and postpartum coaching, they're like, you shouldn't do this. That's what really motivated fitness through motherhood. Then there's the postpartum trauma that I had of my C-section reopening 2 times. That
wow.
when I was leaving the hospital, we were worried about me shaking the baby, but nobody was worried about telling me, hey, maybe getting in and out of the bed 4 times a day isn't the best thing. Hey, maybe going up and down the stairs multiple times in the day isn't the best thing. Yes, they tell you to rest and recover, but my C-section didn't reopen 2 times because I'm an ambitious CrossFitter and I neglect everything the medical system says. My C-section reopened 2 times because, like you just said, I was super fit and healthy in my pregnancy. My delivery didn't go as I wanted, but my recovery from my C-section was phenomenal because when we talk about CrossFit, I'm on that super side of the fit side, right? I'm not on the sickness side. There's no issues
Right.
on me on the continuum. I'm a lot healthier to go through such a crazy surgery, but I still need to dial a lot more back. And when you have an active person go through such a major surgery, I mean, for me, I didn't understand what dial back meant. It wasn't enough. I needed someone to be like, you cannot leave this couch for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Me, like doing laundry. I feel good. I went to go see Christine Best do the CrossFit Games at Babylon High School. Like, I was doing it. And that was the day that I got home and I walked up the bleachers to go see Christine compete. And I got home and I went to go take a number 2 and my C-section reopened for the first time and I was gushing blood everywhere. So
Wow.
it definitely started based on personal trauma, but the moms are the biggest gas to the pedal. Like, there's not a day that I'm not in an interaction with a mom. They're like, you need to do this. I'm like, okay, go. So they have forced it to like roll out and expand and move forward. But it was definitely started all on my personal experience.
How did you, when you were going through your postpartum, how did you communicate that to your husband?
Which part of it?
Like, did you tell him that's how you were feeling? Did you tell him that you were feeling, like
Yeah, you got
emotionally
so
or
we were COVID, right? So we had a COVID baby. Jaden was born August 31st, 2020. So for us, like we had so many and we're in New York, right? We were the 3 of us are in New York. Not everyone might not know that, but our limitations here were so much tighter than anywhere else. And like I got put back in the NICU and my husband couldn't come with me. So it was like it was just open dialogue. How are we going to survive? How are we going to do this? But there was no, for me, again, my relationship with my husband, there was no, like, nothing was hidden. Everything was like, I need help. I didn't have necessarily the postpartum depression that I feel like a lot of other people have, but at the same time, I sit there and say I didn't have it. And now, as much as I am talking to other moms in those early stages of 3 months, 5 months, I'm like, oh, maybe I was depressed, and I just didn't realize. But I also had a lot of other things focused on. The gym was reopening. We were allowed to go back indoors. I have a business. There was a lot of things to occupy my headspace rather than depression in that moment for me.
And I love that you talk about, you know, thinking that you didn't, thinking that you weren't going through anything. And I think it might be because the conversation around postpartum is so linear. They show the extremes of the separation, of the this, of the traumas, of all of this type of stuff. And they don't talk about that every single woman, every single mother goes through some sort of postpartum something, and fill in the blank, whatever extra word you want to talk with trauma, postpartum, whatever. For me, I've talked about this a lot. For me, it was a consuming feeling for my son. I couldn't leave him. I was terrified to leave him. And I
Yeah.
think that when you get down to the root of it, like I have abandonment issues and all of this type of stuff, and this fear that I'm going to lose my kid, it's not something that we talk about because it's postpartum is a separation. You don't want to be around your kid and all of these dramatic stuff that you hear, from movies and TV shows and all this type of stuff. So as you're listening to these moms talk about their experience and you're realizing, oh shit, I might have been really going through something that I didn't think of. How were you able to process that? And how much conversation started to, happen once you started to figure that out?
I think the more conversations we all have together is what brings out the most amount of information. So like, just you saying what you're saying, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I have so much mom anxiety. I never had that anxiety that I have now of the worry and the fears of what's happening and if he's okay and if I'm not with him. The separation, I do have that as well. And I got to be honest, I'm not sure that's gone away 4 years later, right? He turns 4 the end of this August. He's with my mother and father today. And I'm not sure that ever goes away. I had the mom guilt today. I chose to go speak at the 4th trimester group in Yaphank for the nesting place. And I left my son and I was like, he only has 2 days off because he starts summer school on Monday. And instead of me spending time with him today, I decided to go speak to moms. And that makes me feel guilty. So I think the more I talk about it out loud and the more I hear from moms and create the space for them to share, it's more of like relatable and hey, you're not alone. Like it does take a village and it takes a really damn large village, right? It's not the CrossFit village, it's not just the mom friends, it's family, it's friends, it's community, it's groups, it's all the things. So I think trying to tell people what I've learned, it's okay to talk about it, like share your emotion and don't be afraid to ask for the help. um but I think just continuing the conversations more and more.
Yeah.
So when does the fitness through motherhood, is that connected to, I'm not super familiar with it, but is it connected to Babylon? Do you run it through Babylon or?
Yeah, so I currently run it out of Babylon CrossFit. What I'm doing now is we're currently licensing it out to start to bring to other affiliates. So that is what I'm on the mission to do. We should be launching it at the secondary gym will be in Massachusetts this fall. My buddy John's going to be launching it. So that's also really cool because it's a male owner who doesn't have a baby yet, but really understands the impact that I've made in this space and we're making in this space. And he knows how important it is for moms, which I just think is like unbelievable on John's behalf as a male owner. So that's my plan. We're like, I'm in it and I'm working hard and there's a lot of things, but like you guys know, I'm a one person show. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner. But essentially it started out of Babylon CrossFit. And my goal is to try and bring it to other affiliates across the country, if not the world one day. Because it's a system that can be replicated and should be replicated. I was talking to a mother about this earlier. I was like, I don't think it's me. It's not true. I know I'm special and I know I'm a different type of coach, but it's the moms that bring the magic to FTM. It's their sharing, it's their stories, everyone's able to create these relationships that are so supportive, it would be people you would never think you'd be friends with. Like, but you're all in that moment together right now. And fitness is just another great attribute to it for them. Like, meaning like they now are getting the mental health side of things, but they're also getting the foundation of feeling good again physically, and letting them believe they can do it. Right? There's such a scary mantra out there about CrossFit in general. No one can do it, or I need to have 18 abs to do it. That's like how I lead, not just fitness through motherhood, but Babylon CrossFit. Anybody can do it. And I will be the first person to prove you wrong if you tell me you can't do it.
Yeah. Yep. And she does.
You said, I'm curious about this a little bit. You said you had a C-section.
Yes.
How long till you got back into CrossFit after, and were you worried about it?
I was terrified because of the trauma around my C-section. I mean, it killed me. Like, normally you should be able to go back within 6 to 8 weeks if your scar heals correctly and there's no other issue, no other trauma or anything like that. Mine turned into like 18 weeks. I remember the first time, and Kelly, maybe you can relate to this. Like, I didn't feel good again. Well, let me say this. After my first workout, I felt phenomenal. Like, I remember calling my husband. He's like, I have not heard this joy in your voice in 11 months or 12 months, whatever it was at that point. He's like, I'm so glad you were able to do this. Like, at that point, we realized how much physical fitness mattered for my mental health. And then the other side of it is when I stopped, I didn't feel wholly me again, or fully Trish, until I stopped breastfeeding. That hormonal shift for me was a big one.
How long did you breastfeed for?
About 7 months, I think it was 6 to 7 months. I remember the first workout that I like turned around and I was like, oh man, I feel like I look strong. I feel good again, was one of the open workouts. It was the dumbbell, 35-pound dumbbell snatches and box jump overs, I think. And that was the first time I felt like, all right, like we're here, we're in the bounce back, whatever they call this journey. And then I think I just accepted, like, it wasn't a race. It was like a matter of just taking it day by day, feeling better, continuing the journey and moving forward. So it's scary coming back after a C-section. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of misguided information. Moms are told to not do sit-ups when they technically should do sit-ups. And I always like to use this example, especially on podcasts, is if you're a C-section mom, and let's talk about not just C-section moms, because this could impact men as well. Any type of abdominal surgery, even if you're to get bypass surgery, all of those surgeries that impact your core, okay, you need to retrain your range of motion. After you go get an ACL tear, right, and you go get ACL surgery, the first thing they're doing in PT is retraining your range of motion. Why is our abdomen any different? Like, that's the one question I always ask when my OB told me I can't do this. And I was like, okay, well, then when you're laying on the floor with your child, how are you getting up?
That's always my question. They're
Sit
trying
up.
to take away functional, everyday things that you do. Squatting, you're sitting, and standing up. That's what you're doing. Sit-ups, you're getting out of bed. Hinging, deadlifting, you're picking your child up from a crib, a bassinet, from the floor, whatever. Like,
Yep.
I always wondered that too. I always wondered too, like, why are you taking away the fundamental everyday movements, thinking, don't lift weight. You can't lift weight. You can't lift 5 pounds. But my child
Exactly.
is 7 pounds. My child's 7 pounds, and you're telling me that I cannot lift my 7-pound child. That's what you're telling a brand new mother, that she can't pick her up? Like,
Exactly.
it doesn't make any sense. It does
Yeah.
not make any sense that we are told that, but we're also expected, and some people are gifted to be able to have a really strong support system, to be able to call a mom, to be able to call an aunt, to be able to call somebody to be like, "Hey, can you help me?" But not all of us do. Like, Garrett and I don't have much family around here. It's just us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so we very much rely on each other. We very much rely on us being able to do all of that. So if I was ever told that I couldn't do something by a doctor, I would have a very hard time being okay with that. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, who else is going to take care of my kid? And so to answer your question of like how I felt, the one thing that I experienced with the birth of my son and a lot of my postpartum after it is I don't remember it. I
Mm.
don't remember it. And it makes me really sad that I don't remember bits and pieces of it, because I feel like I'm missing something. You know, our story was so long. It took us a very long time to get pregnant. I think I shared this with you, Trish. Like, it took us 2 years to conceive. I had a very difficult pregnancy, and I don't remember part of his birth. So I always ask Garrett, like, "Did this happen? 'Cause I don't remember that. Did this happen? 'Cause I don't remember that." And then postpartum too, I don't really remember the very first workout that I did. I just kind of remember being back in the gym. So
Yeah.
do you feel like that you, like, miss pieces? Have you
Yeah,
ever felt that?
it's actually feedback I give all my new moms. I tell them to write everything down. Even my pregnant moms. I'm like, just write a journal. Cause one day you're gonna want it. Like I wish I had it. And
Yep.
I'm gonna get emotional just talking about it, but I wish I had all of those notes. I wish I wrote everything down. If I knew that I was gonna be launching a whole nother company to support moms, obviously I would have wrote it down. I think that's also like we're trying to have a second baby, right? And it's not happening. And I think the stress I put on myself with Fitness Through Motherhood and wanting to get pregnant is part of the reason we're not getting pregnant, because I just want it so bad to be able to document everything and write everything down and go through it again, because I feel very robbed.
Mm.
So I think that's a very normal feeling. And there's so many moms in it now. Again, I'm doing this 4 trimester group. These moms are so early postpartum, and these are conversations we have. And I'm just like, and this is something I should have told them, was like, write it down, because that's what I tell my moms that I work with. I'm like, just write every moment down, because one day you're going to want to remember it. Or maybe it's like a workout I put them through, and like they're feeling some type of way, and it's some information that I can help another mom with in the future. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely feel, I think maybe more with trauma too, we feel that way a little bit, like
I
different
was gonna
things.
yeah, I think so. I think so too, and I feel you so much on this whole idea of wanting a second. You know, because we tried again, what, babe, about 2 years ago now?
Yeah, I think he was 5.
Yeah, so we tried again, and we tried for an entire year, and for whatever reason, I just have a very, very tough time getting pregnant, and I just maybe don't have enough information, didn't ask enough questions, felt a lot of guilt and whatever, and part of that is because I feel like I did it wrong the first time. I feel like my birth was wrong the first time. I didn't do enough. I couldn't do enough, and I couldn't remember enough. I don't have those pictures of him laying on my chest in those, like, pretty pictures that you're supposed to. But you know what I do have, and thank God I have my wife because she reminds me of these. I have a picture of him latching for the very first time. So she took a picture of him on my chest latching for the first time. So I have that. But we go into this idea of, like, it needs to be perfect. It needs to be a certain way. And I also felt like another reason why we didn't get pregnant, but the second one was because I put so much pressure on wanting to have a different pregnancy. I'm much fitter than I was when I was pregnant with my son. I'm healthier now. I'm paying more attention now. So I want to do it right. And I feel like I mean, I feel you so much on this because I just am like, I did it wrong the first time. I want to get it right. And almost that blame of like, I could have done it better. I could have been a better mom. I could have taken care of this. I could have done it this way. It could have happened this way. And I think that we as moms, we hold so much of that guilt of trying to recreate something and not giving ourselves the kudos that it was perfect. Like,
Yeah.
my son is perfect. Your son for you is perfect, exactly how he is. And I think that we rob ourselves of that. We kind
Yeah.
of take that away from ourselves.
I also think we're in a world now that we're in comparison world, right? We see all the beautiful rainbows and butterflies. We see those babies on the mom's chest on Instagram, and it makes it really hard when you have so much to compare to. And it's
Yeah.
almost like it's hard. That's where I felt no one talked about suicide in pregnancy. Like I feel like I'm one of the only people on social media to be like, no, I was miserable. Like I hated my life. And like I wonder, like I'll have no control if we are lucky enough to get pregnant again. I won't have control of how I feel. We won't know until it happens, right? But I think, Colleen, like one thing I've done is like I've really tried to process what's occurred and for almost like forgive myself in the sense like I know there's nothing to forgive, but I also know that if I am to get pregnant again, there's nothing saying that everything's going to go great. There's nothing saying that I am going to have the VBAC birth that I want to have. There's nothing saying that I'm not going to be suicidal when I'm pregnant. There's nothing, right? It's all hope, but I think there's been a lot of healing for me in the back end, or at least trying to heal and having these conversations and speaking to other moms, knowing that I'm not alone is really, really helpful. And I'll continue to bring up the nesting place because it's so close to home with Babylon CrossFit and Fitness through Motherhood. But they also offer like healing classes. So I had an opportunity to go to one of their birth healing classes, and it's totally out of my comfort zone. But I did it, and it was very helpful for me because it makes you just feel, and again, like you said, we love our sons and we are so grateful for them, but it gives you that it wasn't me, like this is what we were dealt with, and there's nothing we could have done differently.
Yeah. Takes a lot of the guilt off when you can put it in that perspective versus just feeling like you could change it and do it differently.
Yeah, it's hard to get there though. It's something I talk about.
Yeah, yeah, and we're still doing it, and it'll never stop, and that's why
Yeah,
why
and Garrett, I think it's important, like, not to dismiss your feelings, because if Steve was on this call, you and him could have a whole conversation about how like, I don't even think Steve, and I don't even know if you realize, Garrett, how traumatizing it was for you yet, being a part of the whole experience, because he doesn't know anything different. Like I say that to him all the time, and he's like, well, maybe it's not the end of the world if we don't get pregnant again. And I was like, no, like I need this, I need that. But he doesn't know anything different, and he doesn't know the conversations that I have daily and things like that. And I always wonder about, his trauma that comes with it, and seeing me throw up 3 times while I'm having a C-section and panicking and turning pale white. I didn't get to see my baby for 12, 15 hours. Like there was so much built up there we shouldn't be dismissive of our partners, is where I'm getting here with that, because they are just traumatized even though they're not physically going through it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely trying to get pregnant and her getting all the no's and seeing how she felt when she had all the no's and not being able to get pregnant and feeling like it was her fault that she wasn't getting pregnant and she wasn't doing enough to be able to get pregnant. Yeah, for sure. It killed me every time the pregnancy test came back negative. It's 2 years of watching her just be disappointed and disappointed in herself when I know there's absolutely nothing wrong with her. You know what I mean? So I think towards the end, right before she did get pregnant, I just kinda wanted to take that away from her. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to take the pressure off her and just be like, "Hey, it's fine. We're lesbians. We can have 85 dogs. It's not a big deal." Like, you know, it whatever it was that I could do to make it better, I just wanted to make it better.
Yeah, and I don't want to mention too much, but I have members in the gym, 2 females that have gone through it, and unfortunately, they're not going to be able to conceive. And it has just been very hard for our members to have to navigate that. But in the sense of like, I'm so grateful they have us and the support that they have with us. And I have the education for the pelvic floor stuff that I know, because that individual person needed it so much. So if you can hold on to that, Colleen, a little bit, like you're very lucky in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate whenever there's perspective, you know what I mean? And I don't share my journey and not also know that some people do not get that gift, you know? And so I always appreciate perspective because it slows you down for a little bit, you know? And there were many times that throughout the years that we were trying to conceive that she actually was like, let's take a break. Let's take a break. And I was like, first, I'm like, why? Why? No, it's gonna work. It's gonna be fine. Why would we take a break? You know, and was very reluctant and not happy about it. But of course, we took a break and whatever. And then it got to a point where she asked the hard question in the middle of the second year, I think it was, or was it in the middle of the first year, where she asked me, would you be okay if we didn't have a baby? And I was devastated when she asked me. And the first thing I did was be like, how could you think that I can't give us a baby? Like, how do you think, like, it's
There
almost
was
like,
no good way for me to say it.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
no,
you
no,
were
and that yeah, and that's what it was because I was already blaming my body, and then to have her ask a very just truthful, honest, that's what we do with our partner. It's honest, it's raw, it's like, we have to have these conversations. It makes us better partners for each other. I was already mad at my body. My body was already failing me, and then I always had the hope that she wasn't believing that my body was failing me, but to hear that was very difficult to hear. But also, it prepared me for the conversation we had right before we had our last insemination, where I eventually did get pregnant, where I went to her and I said, "I think I'd be okay if we didn't have a baby." Because I was mentally exhausted, I was physically exhausted, I was sick and tired of people touching me and exams and taking my blood and being between my like, I was so like, "Don't touch me, it's not working, it's not
Yeah.
working," and literally our entire marriage was us trying to get pregnant
Yep.
for those 2 years. Literally every single conversation that we had was about trying to get pregnant, and I was like, "Fine, I'm okay. I think I'm okay if we don't get pregnant." We had one more try. I was like, "Well, we'll try because we already paid for it, we already have it, so everything's
Yep.
set up. We'll try one more time, but I already know it's gonna be a no." And then here comes my son, and he's like, "Just kidding. Here I am." Like, so when you
Right.
finally were able to hold your baby and you had that first moment with him, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
Oh my God, is he gonna take my nipple because of all the stress they put on you of having to latch within the first 10 seconds they're out of you? And we're
Yep.
talking 14 hours.
Mhm.
That was my first initial thought. And then I was by myself. Like Steve was not with me when I went up there. I finally made it up to the NICU by myself the morning of. Um, the morning after he was born. I don't even know what day of the week it was, but I ended up there by myself, and literally that was honestly the first thought was like, is he gonna latch, and how do I do this all by myself? I remember walking upstairs to the NICU by myself, but then I remember just having him and being like, I don't know. I don't. That's a great question, Colleen, and I really don't know if I know the answer. Honestly, my only thought was, oh my God, am I gonna be able to breastfeed? And I really didn't even know if I wanted to breastfeed. I was like, I'm not here for this,
Yeah.
but that once you're
You
in
know
it,
what?
it's
You're in it, that's it.
yeah.
You know what's interesting about the thing that you guys both kind of just said is that it very much became about the pregnancy and kind of wasn't about the marriage or the partnership or the you were by yourself, Trish. Um, Colleen was so focused on just being able to get pregnant that it kind of wasn't like we weren't able to work on the marriage or be like present for each other. It was just all about the baby. And I wonder sometimes what kind of stress that puts on you as mothers. You know what I mean? Like you now all of a sudden you kind of don't even like all your partner can do is just be like, "Hey, I'm here for you. Hey, I'm here for you." But that kind of stress that you put on yourselves to be able to do whatever, to be able to get the baby to latch, to be able to get pregnant, to deliver the baby how you want to deliver the baby. I wonder what kind of stress that puts on you guys. Because we're just over here trying to be like, hey, I just want to say the right thing. So you're okay. It doesn't even matter about us right now. We just want you guys to be okay. So
Yeah.
what's kind of that stress that you guys, I mean, that it can't be good. Like, is that part of the postpartum? Is that I don't know what that is.
I mean, I'll take it based on just conversations I've had with my moms, but yeah, I think that's definitely part of postpartum. It's also like us building these things up in our head that you guys like don't want to help us, the partners. Like they're like, oh, they just don't get it. Like they get to go to work today and they get to go socialize, and I'm just sitting here on the couch and I haven't showered in 8 hours. Like you build things up in your head that aren't real. So I don't think in that moment you know how to necessarily ask for help. You expect everyone just to kind of like, there's also the excitement of like everyone's waiting for baby, everyone's waiting for, it's almost like a funeral, right? Like the baby gets here and then everyone like, no one's around. You know, you're just expected to figure it out by yourself when there's a funeral, right? Everyone's there for the funeral and then you're off on your own grieving. And I'm not saying a baby's like, that sounds so bad the way I just, but you guys know what I'm saying, the support
Oh,
and the
it's
help.
true.
Yeah, you get all the attention, the baby shower, the whatever. And then when the baby's born, it's kind of just like, well, okay, the
Yeah,
baby's
and then
here.
there's also the learning the way your partner does things versus the way we do things, right? Like so like Steve parents a different way than I parent. Like his mom's different than my mom and we're going to have our different ways, but I think that's kind of like the magic of parenting, right? That you have two different people who come from two different backgrounds and you were both managed by your parents differently and now you get to choose those styles together to how you want your son to be. So I don't have an answer in the sense of how you manage that anxiety. I think it's surrounding yourself with other moms in those moments at the same time so you don't be like, all right, so it's not just my husband, maybe it's me then, or it's not just my partner, maybe it's me then. Like they're not crazy. We're all crazy. And it's not that we're
Yeah.
crazy, it's just that we're not sleeping, we're not eating, we're taking care of everybody else but ourselves, and there's so much happening that we don't know when and where to ask for help. And then it gets to a point that some people spiral so bad, you know, and that's the scary part of the postpartum depression.
Yeah, and that was the hardest thing for us to navigate was I would feel that and I wouldn't want to take her experience away from her, but I was overly trying to help her. So she was the one that was going away to work and she got to be out of the house all day. And what I wanted to do is still do the wife thing that I do. I wanted to take care of the house. I want to take care of her, when she got home. And so then, of course, I'm like, well, I exclusively breastfed. I would pump and she would, fill a bottle up and whatever, but it was very important for me to breastfeed him. That was something that I really wanted to, and we worked hard for that. Him and I together, like we worked hard for that. And it was important for me. But when she would come home, I'm like, well, I'll just put him on my chest. Like you've been at work all day, you've been busy all day, and she works in a deli and it's stressful and all these type of things. Like, I'll do it. And she's like, okay. But she didn't have any time with her kid because she'd been at work all day. So she also wanted to come home and have that time with her kid, as well as help me out because I've been with him all day by myself and I'm exhausted and she knows I'm exhausted. But again, she wants to have that moment with her kid. So one of the biggest conversations that we had, or most difficult conversation right after we became parents, is she said to me, I don't know my place. I don't know where I fit into this equation. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I said, I'm not trying to take anything from you. I want you to have this and I want you to have this relationship with him and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you're not letting me. And so I thought I was doing that. I thought that I was giving everything so that she could have that to still check off all the wife things that meant a lot to take care of her as a wife. And then also with the baby. And so we were fighting for the same thing, but it was almost like we didn't know how to communicate as parents because we'd been communicating as partners. We were married, we were wives for 5 years, and now we have to communicate as parents. It's not supposed to be a different lingo. We're supposed to be able to communicate with our partners. Like,
Also, is the dad allowed to make decisions about the baby? I think that's the thing I wasn't sure. Like, are you
Oh wait, like
allowed?
this is like a thing though. This recently came up. This that's so weird that you asked that question, Garrett, because someone recently brought this up in a conversation I was having that when they have a second baby, that they're not putting their partner on the birth certificate Because if you're on the birth certificate, then yes, you are technically a part of all conversations and decisions. But if you leave the partner off, then we can do whatever we want by ourselves. So this goes into early intervention programs and leaving the country and different things like that. That's the only reason why I know all this stuff. And Colleen, that was the DM where our conversation, what made you want to have us have this conversation. I think that's where we want to get to, is talking a little bit about early intervention in our sons. But I did learn that recently, Garrett, that if you're not on the birth certificate, then like, no, like you don't really get to make any decisions. But if you are, you do.
Oh, good. Yay.
You get to make all the decisions. But did I guess, did Steve ever feel like, I mean, babe, when you felt that way, did you feel like it was like an overstepping? Did you
Yes.
feel so?
Yes.
Trish, did you guys ever have
Yes.
a conversation where Steve was like, I don't want to overstep? So was that any type of conversation that you guys had?
I don't think so. I wish he was like right next door so I could ask him. I'm not sure, to be honest. But we did very similar to you and Garrett. Like he was the one leaving for the day, and I remember there'd be like times he'd get home and I'd be like, I don't want I want to go out. Like I want to just go to the gym and go for a walk. And I would leave. So maybe that was also part of my postpartum anxiety. Like I would take the breaks when anybody would give them to me. Like I'd be like, all right, see you, peace. Like I'm going to the gym. I'll go check the gym floor. Like whatever opportunity I got for a break, I would take. But he was also like my partner in crime and I bought him everywhere. So I don't know. So it's a good follow-up question.
I used to really enjoy it when she would go out and do mom things. Like she'd go get her nails done and
but she had to like,
I had to kick her out
me
of the
out.
house.
Like,
because then I
kick
walked
me out.
around and I was like, this is my son and I'm going to do son things with him and I'm going to throw him in the air and I'm going to give him his binky and I'm going to like wrestle him and throw like this little 5-month-old around this house and she can't yell at me. Ha. Like,
yeah, that was very difficult for me with my postpartum was, I just couldn't leave him. I didn't want to leave him.
I had like a different setup. I could bring Jaden to my gym, right? Like he came with me every. So like when I was working, I was bringing him with me. When he was with me everywhere. So, but I still look back, like think that, like, did I do enough with him? Like, was I present enough? I don't know. I don't remember anything, like you said.
Yeah.
No, the difference is like she was it's the first kid, right? So she's pristine with him. I'm like, he's crawling around on the floor and picks something up off the floor and puts it in his mouth and then puts it back on the ground. And I'm like, you're good. Your immune system's growing. And she's like, oh my God, my kid's going to die. And like, so it was just, I was like, I just want to do all the things with you that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I really was scared for a long time that something was going to happen that, and I also never wanted to miss a moment. I never wanted to not be a part of something. And when I started to really do my work and work with someone and invest in myself and get my shit together, that's all me stuff. That's all my feelings that I haven't worked through, with my own parents, with my childhood traumas, all this type of stuff. Like that's my stuff. And what I was doing was I was putting it on my kid, not realizing that I was putting it on my kid and on my wife and that kind of stuff. But you have to deal with your own shit first to be able to go and do that. My first job back after I was working at a dance studio and I couldn't bring him with me. So I remember very vividly. I do remember that the very first time that I left him to go to work, the entire car ride, because it was in Manorville, I was like trying to hold back tears because I was so sad. I was so nervous. I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted to be a part of everything. But then when I got in the gym, him and I were sidekicks and he was everywhere with me.
Yeah. But I think that feeling is very common. I can't tell you the amount of moms that do not want to go back to work. It's really, really difficult. And it's very difficult conversations to have because I can't tell everyone not to go back to work, but trying to help them build that confidence or those boundaries or whatever it is that each individual person needs to help navigate that next step, because we become mothers and everyone feels that way. No one wants to leave. No one wants to miss a moment. And I think that's one of the hardest things to overcome in this new stage of life.
Yeah. is going back to work
Oh no, I kicked her out.
as many times as she could. Thank God my sister-in-law lived here because she literally kicked us out, and my wife dragged me on our first date after we had the baby. She's like, "We're going on a date. Like, we're going on a fucking date. Let's go." And I was like, "I can't." And I had my phone right next to me on super loud. She's like, "I'm just gonna take this over here." And like, I wasn't allowed to check my phone. I wasn't allowed to text my sister-in-law and make sure everything was okay. She sent me pictures. This was the one thing. She sent pictures, and he had the wrong binky in his mouth. And I was like, "That's not the right one." And she's like, "Just put the phone down." Like, it's like everything is fine.
It's a binky.
It's just a binky. He was crying. He needed something or whatever. Well, I do want to.
Everyone's the same, whether the mother-in-law puts the socks on the wrong way, my mom didn't swaddle the baby, whatever it is. There's always something. They're doing it.
It's always something that you nitpick on or whatever. But I do want to get into this because I don't want to keep you too long or whatever. You put up a post about how do we navigate early intervention for ourselves and also within the mom community, because it's almost taboo to, how do I say this? Not bring it up, but like start the conversation with other moms, because not every mother is in a place to receive it coming from a good place and feels almost like it's like attacking or like they're not ready to hear that. So you put up a post and you were asking how, how could you gently, or what way do you think that you could like support moms when you see that it might be beneficial? How did that question come up? How did that experience come up where you put that post up?
Oh shit. All right.
Oh, did someone
Well,
call her?
I don't know. I don't know. Is anybody else hearing feedback?
No, I asked Jet. I asked Jet. I was like, are we echoing?
Okay. I was like, okay. So
no, we're good. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I good? Okay.
Yeah.
How did I get to that point of the question? So Jaden is in full early intervention services. Jaden turns 4 August 31st. His story is super unique. I would not have gotten my son his services without my CrossFit gym, which is wild. Without my CrossFit gym and my Instagram handle, which it's not like I have 1 million followers. I have like 1,000 at that time, probably. Jaden was in a 2-year-old program, so like a 9:30 to 12:30 program at a school up the block, and his teachers sat with us for their like mid-year like meeting, and they're like, "Hey, we think he has a little bit of a speech delay," and I was like, "Okay, like, well, what does that mean?" Well, it means like he's just a little bit further behind. He's the youngest in class. We're not that concerned. They're like, "But we want you to go get him tested." Now, before this occurred, Jaden was a very delayed walker. So Jaden did not start walking till probably about almost 20 to 24 months, almost till he was about 2. And I, as the gym owner, I was like, he's fine. He's not going to learn how to walk, but I wasn't educated at that point. And I didn't realize that was actually a sign of an intervention delay. Just put that in the back corner because that matters when I go to this next part. So when they told me to test him for speech, I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to go to the doctor to get a script, we might as well test him for speech, PT, and OT, because that's a thing, right? If you don't know that, you can test for all 3 things. So again, at this point, Jaden was 2.5. So we put him through the system to go get tested. I remember going to each individual test with him, and speech specifically made me very uncomfortable. The setting that they had put Jaden in was very busy. It was like toys everywhere. The woman literally took a phone call from her son in the middle of the exam. And I was just like, okay, like, I know I have ADHD. I know my son definitely has ADHD. Like, we're asking him to do a speech exam with all of these toys. Like, I can't focus. So I like raised the question, and I had a gym member who is technically a preschool special education principal right now. He's serving for that. And he was someone I consulted in constantly. And I said to him, I was like, is it normal for it to be done in this type of room? And he's like, well, he's like, it depends on where they work out of, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, but I still like don't feel right about it. So essentially we got the results from PT, OT, and speech. Jaden had failed PT, he had failed OT, and he had passed speech. So the one test that the teachers wanted him to get service for, he had passed. So now at this point, again, I'm very vocal on social media. I just go on my Instagram story and I'm like, I have a question. Like, this doesn't seem right. Like, does anybody know anything about this? And then I had like 10 DMs from moms who have gone through it, and then people that work in special education in New York. And there's actually like advocates that you can hire to go to the Board of Education meetings with you. So there were a bunch of people coming into my DMs, and my girlfriend that I went to high school with works out of a school district, and she's friends with the head of special education. She's like, I'll call in a favor. She's like, send me the reports. Send them the reports. And they were like, you need to challenge every single thing on these reports. Your son should not only be getting speech, but he should be getting a see it, which is like a human that sits in the classroom with them to help them guide them.
Like
Yeah.
She's like,
one-on-one.
and potentially even more, right? Like, and I was like, okay. So then I called the chairperson, who happens to be a mom of a young baby as well, young woman. And I was like, listen, I'm going to be your worst nightmare, but also like biggest advocate if you figure this out. Like, I work with a lot of people. I own a business. And I was like, and here's what people are telling me, like that Jaden should technically be in full day services, and that what you guys are telling us about the speech exam wasn't enough. And I want to challenge the speech exam. So then as a mom, I had a decision to make, because he was 2.5, to wait to test him now or wait till he turned 3, because in New York, the metrics change, and he most likely definitely fail when he turned 3 years old. So I essentially made the choice to delay speech, OT and PT services, so that way we can wait until he turned 3 to retest him for speech. And then still, after we retested him for speech, he had now failed all 3 services, and they were like, all right, we'll give you a see it every day in his classroom. So now he was going to be in that same school that had told him, hey, go get the speech test from 9:30 to 12:30 with a see it in his classroom that would help him one-on-one, like you guys said, to circle time to different activities, make him engaged and participate. I shared that on the Instagram story, and then my friends came knocking again. They're like, no. They're like, if a child fails all 3 services in New York, you should not be paying for preschool. They should be in full day special education school. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, let's go back. I was like, I don't understand what any of this means. So I had to literally knock again on the chairperson's door. I asked for, like, this was probably my 7th or 8th phone call and meeting. And I was like, it's not enough. Jaden needs more. And then I finally, after sharing on Instagram again, and because of CrossFit, somebody who used to be in my old affiliate, I used to coach at a gym called Islip CrossFit. I have a mom who runs this program I don't want to say the name because I don't remember the name of it. It's what Jaden's in now, and it's a shame that I don't know it. But he goes to South Shore and West Islip underneath this program and gets full day services. So like I said in the beginning of the call, we just ended school yesterday. He's off today and tomorrow, and then Monday he goes back into full day. And I'm super grateful for it, because everything at home has become a lot easier with the support and the help of this with all these services. It's incredible the differences these kids, these moms, these women, these people make in your kid's life, and the impact they're making at such a young age.
Oh yeah, the minute that he got his full services when he got into kindergarten was the minute that he was fine. Like, it was just
Yeah.
like, it was like, oh, okay. Like,
First grade. Kindergarten was, or kindergarten. No,
no,
you're right.
yeah,
You're
kindergarten.
Right. Yep. Preschool was tough.
He had, preschool was horrible. He had summer school, and now this year he doesn't even kind of qualify for summer school. So he's just in regular.
And that's because you guys did. That's because of what you two have done. Like, that's the thing, is like, that's where these conversations are earlier. And that's what made me share that on the story was, right? Like, the earlier that, and not that I'm ever going to sit there and tell like one of my Finish Through Motherhood kids that I think they have services, but if a mom wants to come to me and have that conversation of, hey, Trish, what did you notice? Or what were the signs? Or what made you fight so hard? Like, I'm very happy to share that. But my biggest fear is, not fear, but I was like, my biggest reason for pushing so hard for this was I wanted him to get the services now. So that way, when the kids are older and kids get mean, right? I literally just shared this on the Fitness Through Motherhood story today, that I was like, I just don't want him to be made fun of. Or if I can help him in any way, limit his opportunity to be made fun of. Like that's what I want to do for him. And that's what, I don't know. I don't want him to have to go to after school activities if I can help him now and build a foundation of setting him up for success as he ages at 4 years old.
That's what we do as moms, though.
He's still silly. Like, don't hear it from the like dad side. Like, he's still goofy as hell. It's funny and it's like, I love it. He doesn't really kind of understand what cool is, or what like the kids like what their slang is, or how they're what backpack to wear. Like he doesn't care. He rolls to school in his Sonic everything and and that's just what he likes. And he's got his light up shoes, which I guess is not cool anymore in the
It
first
used to
grade.
be.
It used to be cool, but whatever. And he just
Well, and
he
you guys
just
don't know it.
he doesn't care. Yeah, right? Like he comes home and he's happy. He does not care about
And
any of
he's progressing.
yeah, and he's doing just fine. Like he played flag football this year. He is gonna try tennis for the first time really soon because the coaches love him. And you know what I mean? And yeah, do you have to explain things a little differently to him than you would another kid, like a neurotypical kid? Sure. But he wants to know. Like we
Yeah.
just got to that phase where like, mom, what does this mean? Mom, what is that? Mom, where's that? Mom, like it's almost like, hey, my name's not mom anymore. Can it be anything else right now other than mom? Because wow.
Your limits of mom have been used in the first 20 minutes of the day. Like I'm checked out. I'm done. I'm on break. I'll see ya.
He asked me, he saw the word akin, like akin to, and he asked me what it meant. And I'm like, next to, like, or akin, like your family. Like this kid is just, he's so just different, but whatever. It's fine. He's fine. Like he's doing the thing.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
He's perfect.
So
And that's the thing. We advocate hard for our kids because they deserve the support. They deserve the services. So what we're dealing with now is preschool was not ideal. It was very difficult for him in preschool, his second year of preschool. So we got him in because, COVID and all that type of stuff. So his speech evaluation was done on a computer. And I'm like, well, how? Okay.
yeah.
Okay, how are we going to navigate this? My son keeps wanting to like push the screen down, but okay, fine. You're going to evaluate him on a screen. If that's what you need to do to get him in the door, whatever, fine. So got evaluated and said that he needed speech services. Great. Got him into preschool. Same thing. Well, he's in speech, might as well get him evaluated for OT and PT. Same as you. Go ahead. Do it all, whatever he needs, whatever. And then it got significantly worse. He was on a sensory diet where he was in like a weighted vest to try to get him to sit and all this type of stuff. And like they just didn't have teachers. The overturn of teachers was all the time. They're asking him to be regulated, but you're changing teachers almost every 6 months, every 2 months sometimes for him. I mean, he was in preschool for 2 years. I'm pretty sure he had 12 speech therapists. And you're expecting him to be exactly. You're expecting him to be able to regulate himself and understand and all of this type of stuff. But then he got into kindergarten. And in kindergarten is when the autism conversation came up again. So they kind of brought it up a couple times before, but it really got brought up when he was in kindergarten. And his kindergarten teacher was phenomenal. Jesse Phillips, hands down, is the reason that our son is thriving.
He does so well, yeah.
As he is. Because I think when you have, like you said, when you have good people, like it makes a difference in our kids' lives. And so he put boundaries on him, set, strict rules, all type of stuff, and like doesn't treat him differently, understands who he is for the knowledge, but does not treat him any differently. And having conversations with him, we are still raising men. Boundaries are still boundaries. No is still no. And it doesn't matter how difficult it takes them to receive that message and understand that message. Safety is safety. No is no. Rules are rules. Right is right. Wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter how you get there, but we still have to teach our kids to be safe and kind and nice in the world that they are going to and be growing into. So it's like, I've had conversations with people that are saying, well, he doesn't understand that. Why are you doing it this way? And I'm like, because my kid still needs to know that you have to look both ways before you cross the street. My kid still has to know that he can't be mean to somebody. My kid still has to know personal space. My kid still has to know that that person over there is a stranger and we don't know who they are. You can't just run up to them and try to jump into their arms. Like my kid still needs to know life skills. So of course I'm going to be very stern with him and boundaries with him and understand that like no means no.
Hey, you said your kid had speech delays too. I'm just curious because I had a really bad habit. Colleen didn't, but I had a really bad habit of answering for him.
Oh, yeah, I would say I did too.
Do you ever answer for him?
I don't think we got to that point because he wasn't taught, like, not that he wasn't nonverbal, but it was like there was no communication. Like he was slamming his head into the wall, like having a tantrum. So it was like nonverbal, but it wasn't nonverbal. So I don't, I'm lying to you. Yeah, I guess I was, because I'd be like, when you would ask them a question, you would answer that was me.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. I had this really, and like, hey Kenneth, what's up? Let me just say hi to everybody. Kenneth, Jethro, Bernie, always good to see you. Kin, I always thought was just someone who's related to you, but I mean, I don't know, whatever. Madeline, I saw back in there.
Bernie is our fact checker.
Yeah, Bernie is our smartest person.
Smartest one in the room.
Yeah, he's gonna run the world.
Yes.
But and I think I saw Jody. Yeah, Jody, what's up? Hey, yep. Lady, love you. I had this really like, and I can admit this now. I don't think I could have admitted this like, maybe 2-3 years ago, but like I was a little embarrassed. Like I have to say that I probably was answering questions for him because I didn't want the person to think that he couldn't do this or he couldn't do that. You know what I mean? And so I leave him in the deli. He's like my little greeter. He'll talk to everybody and anybody. He's like the mayor of our deli now. But in the beginning, when I realized that he should have had more of verbal skills than he did, I panicked. Like I didn't know he was supposed to have more verbal skills than he did. I was like, oh, he's just 2.
Yeah, you're not alone there. I think for me, it was like more of like, for my biggest red like moment was it last year? Yeah, because this was the first year Jaden was in a full year of services. It was last August. I went away with my family, and I went away without Steve. And Jaden and I had our own room, and it was like from daytime to nighttime, just Jaden and I. But my brother was there with his kids, my sister with her kids, and my mom and dad. And it was just like every morning he would want to wake up and go see like the cows. And he just didn't understand that we had to go get breakfast first, and then we can go see the animals after. Like there was just no getting that across. And for me, it was like I would have to leave breakfast every morning and go bring him to the cows before and not be able to sit down and have a meal. And like I was definitely embarrassed. I was angry at my family because everyone was like, he's fine, he's fine. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't care what it is. Like, I don't care if he's autistic. I don't care what it is. But like, this is not normal. This relationship with my son is not normal. And stop telling me that he's fine. Like, we need help and I need help. And like, I'm going to slam my head against the wall with him in a minute. And I just got to the point that I was like, I told Steve, I was like, I will never go on that family vacation alone again, because even my sister who has 5 girls, my brother who has 2 kids, everyone's worried about their own kids at the end of the day. And that was the first moment that like my sister finally turned around and she's like, well, maybe he is autistic. And Jaden was technically diagnosed as not autistic. And, but I will still challenge that psych exam every year just to make sure he continues to get the services he needs, that he needs, because yes, behavioral's gotten better, but there's still some things that Garrett to this day that I get embarrassed about. But I think like for me, it's just like, and Colleen, I know you'll resonate with this like so deep, like, and Garrett, you too, like, it doesn't matter what they are at this point. Like, you love that kid no matter what the hell it is and has and is wrong with it. And it's like, it doesn't matter because there's nothing wrong with them. That's your baby. And whatever anybody else says, they're either going to say something supportive and you're going to love them, or they're going to say something douchey and we're going to cancel them and not talk to them ever again. And it's just like, I think that, and I'm crying again. God, Garrett, you're this 3 times on 1 to 3. I can't even do the number. Jaden hits home. I think that's been like, yeah.
They hit home a lot. And I think that for me, I felt that too, when people would bring up the autistic diagnosis and conversation, and I think you should. And I was in denial for a long time too. You know, they started to bring this up when Garrett was 1, and then it came up when Garrett was 2. But for me, it was difficult because they never explained it to me. They just said, like, he's supposed to know this many words, and he's supposed to be able to do this, this, and this. And he used to sign, and signing didn't count as vocal words. And they didn't explain that to me, that, like, not saying that sign. With a group of moms.
Oh,
And
you lost audio? Is it back?
hello.
Now it's I missed
okay.
I'm back at the group of moms though.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
So I went on okay, I'm good. Everybody can hear me? Everything's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went on a trip to Splish Splash with a group of moms. And it was the first time that I realized that I was out here by myself, because they were helping with each other's kids. And I'm standing there because my kid doesn't want to wait his turn. He wants to go now. And my kid is screaming over and over and over again. And I literally was left by myself. And I was like, okay, I'm in this. And how can I help him? Because it's not about me. And when you wrote that in your story and I answered it, it was when I was finally able to release my own guilt. Like I did. Okay, hold on. The tears might come from me. Hold on.
That's why I'm here.
I did something wrong, because my pregnancy was tough and I had to take medicine because I couldn't keep food or water down. I literally would have been in a hospital strapped to an IV if I didn't take medicine. And you hear these studies and it's the stories that all of this research, apparently that all of this is reason for this. So I'm the reason that he is like that, because my body again was failing me to care for my kid. So the guilt that I felt even years after that of, why would you say that? Why would you say that he's going to have all these challenges? Why would you tell me that I've failed again? Why would you tell me that I'm a bad mom? Why would you tell me all of these things? And it wasn't until I released that guilt and was able to be like, I did every fucking thing that I possibly could to raise the healthiest and happiest kid that I possibly have. And he's perfect. But
Exactly.
my body continued to fail me in my mind because I struggled so hard to get pregnant, and I struggled so hard. I had a tough pregnancy and I had to be on medicine, and I'm the reason that he's like this. And so being able, when you said that and I reached out to you and I was like, oh my God, we have to keep this conversation going. We have to talk about this and give each other space to just say, sometimes I feel embarrassed. Sometimes I still feel like it's my fault. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but I still get up and I do it every day. And I do the very best that I can. And I reach out to people and I talk to people, and slowly the guilt is going away. But I felt that so much with part of the reason with my postpartum, because it was easier for me to stay in a bubble with him than it was for me to send him off into this world. And with the craziness of what this world is going through right now, I'm starting to have that feeling again, because I want him to stay young and I want him to stay perfect and beautiful and innocent and happy and all of this shit that's going on. I mean, this can be a conversation for another day. Like, Garrett and I have been open about possibly homeschooling him next year because of all the shit that's going on. And what I want to say, and what I hear from you, that you share this message too, even though we go through the same thing, is that you're doing a great fucking job. And if you didn't hear it today, I'm the girl that's here to tell you, you're doing a great fucking job. And I feel like you send that to your moms too. So just having that support of, like, we're doing the best that we fucking can. And it's tough. It's tough, but we still show up and do the very, very best that we can.
And Kenneth is the dad that kind of sees it through my lens, and he and I have a lot of really good conversations together. And he's like, moms know best. And I absolutely agree. Only because of his wife's constant research and persistent questioning, we were able to get an aprasia diagnosis. Did I say that right? I hope I said it right. tried.
That mom intuition is no joke.
Yeah,
And that is one
for sure.
thing I've learned to really trust.
And
For sure.
yeah, I mean, I was letting my kid eat dirt off a floor, so I mean, it could be my
For the
fault.
record, I do that too. So that's you're
Listen,
not
listen, we also have to we know that going outside and getting dirty and getting crazy or whatever is the best part of childhood. So I was just a little neurotic when we first had it.
But just from my side of the coin, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before we went on air. You guys are so strong. Like, I don't know how you did what you did. I don't know how you grew the baby. I used to listen to Colleen's stomach and touch and hear like him moving around in there, or a foot to my face or something weird like that. And I don't know how you do it. And I can't tell you how much more respect I have for my wife, or like, if you thought like I couldn't love her anymore, or your husband couldn't love you anymore, like when you see your kid being born, or when you see your wife doing that, it's incredible and insane. And literally, like, all we want to do is help. We just want to help. And when we feel like we can't help, and it's not any fault of yours, obviously you're going through whatever your body's telling you got to go through right now, but we just want to help. Like, that's it. We want to make it better for you. What can we do? Can we take the baby? Can we I don't know, like, clean the breast pump? Can we, what do we got to do? You know? And so thank you for pumping out our kids. Thank you for taking care of our kids. Thank you for making sure our kids are still alive, like, especially through the first year, because we're not important in the first year. Just you guys are important in the first year. We're not important until the baby can move. So, like, thank you guys. Appreciate you. Love you. I don't even know how to convey the respect and the love that I have for you guys.
We
So,
have good ones, girl.
yeah.
We got good ones. And I mean, just from you talking about, your husband a little bit and whatever, like, and I think, I don't know about for you, but it's still crazy just talking
Bye,
things
Jet.
out, and how it does kind of take you back there for a minute or whatever. Like, but that guilt that I had, that mom guilt that I had, made it very difficult for me to release control, to give an opportunity for someone else to come in,
Yeah.
because I felt like I did something wrong, and I felt like I dealt him the difficult cards. And it's unfair to do that to me, and it's unfair to do that to him. He's perfect the way that he is. Some days are gonna be better than others. Some days we're gonna have it. Some days we're not, and that's also okay. Like, it's all good. We do the very, very best that we can.
Yeah.
The best that we can.
Yeah. And I think continuing the
Hugs to all
conversation.
three of you. I just wanted you to give you those hugs, Trish. Trish nailed it. Bottom line, the kids are perfect, and you're gonna love them regardless.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't make a difference. And I think it's the same. There's days that I continue to think about it, whether it's decisions I made, but it's like, we were given the kid we were given for a reason. And that's like, again, we're strong enough to share these stories, and we're going to make a difference in other parents' lives and these conversations. And like, I think that's what pushes me to do it more and more, to share my story, Jaden's story. Here we are again.
Yeah,
But
they get you every time, girl. They
Yeah.
get you every time.
But I just think it's like, again, and I continue to encourage you two to share your story as individuals, because my hope, I have a huge LGBTQ community, and there's so many parents trying to conceive in that, in my community alone, that struggle, and just it's almost like it's so much bigger than we know yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Girl, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I can hear my kid right now. He's doing the what was that, Mario dance thing? So, like, I can hear
Oh, it's a Mario challenge. If you ever need
it's
to,
like the floor is lava and
yeah,
stuff.
it's like they
Like
think
Super
they're playing
Mario?
the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they're playing the game, like
But they're
they're
not.
punching the
They're
thing.
just jumping around and jumping on the couch. I actually found it on Instagram one day.
It's really funny.
It was like, if you need a second from your kids, or they've got way too much energy, put this on. And my kid's like, can I play a challenge? And he's like jumping and whatever. We did it one day, and my wife flings the door open and is like, "You're gonna go through the floor.
I was like,
Can you relax? Like you're gonna."
I'm in the deli. I thought the store was gonna fall down. I was like, you guys gotta stop. Like, at least till I get out of
Yeah.
the deli. But
Amazing. Well, thank you guys for having me. It was great talking to you both. Garrett, nice to meet you
it was really
officially.
nice to meet you too. Thank
We'll
you
do
so
this
much.
again because there's so many more conversations. There's so much more information. I would love to dive more into your, into your program, FTM,
Yeah.
and what that's about and how other people can get involved and, how we can continue to spread the word because, moms go through it. Moms that carry go through it, and it's difficult, and we don't get to talk about it. We don't have space, and also partners go through it too. And I think the more that we can just support each other and understand that we're all going through something, and just come together and just be there for each other. So you'll definitely get another one, and we'll definitely want you to come back on. So
Thank you so much.
all right, girl, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
She's awesome.
Yeah, that was crazy.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she is. She definitely, as much as maybe I got her to go to some memories, I definitely went to some of my own memories that I hadn't pulled up in a while.
Yeah.
So,
it brings you back, and
see, it's gone. Like the feedback in my headphones now is gone.
Yeah, I don't have it. So maybe it was her, but
so must just have been hearing her microphone on her computer or whatever. As long as
I was checking with Jet, and he said at some point it got a little worse, but then it kind of was okay,
away,
and then whatever. But like it's cool. Like it's cool. It is what it is, and
But yeah, no, that was, I mean, even for her, but just for us, like that was really good to kind of work through some stuff and, Kenneth, I'm sorry you didn't jump on earlier, bro. Like I could have used you earlier.
But yeah, being able to have the conversation and just, the things still come up and there's still things to talk about and, being able to look back and have that conversation of like, oh shit. Yeah. Like it does make me really sad that I don't remember a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like it does, and that was also part of the pressure that I, put myself on when we were trying to have baby number 2. And that's probably why I couldn't conceive for baby number 2, but it also brings up the conversation of now of like, do we want another one? We slow ourselves down and we have these actual conversations about it. But she's a great person. She's a phenomenal person and she does the shit and is as open and as vulnerable as, she was on here or whatever. She's just as strong and she's just as passionate in real life. And,
my bad. Grandma came to see the kids. No, that's cool.
No
my grandma is actually here. So his great grandma's here. So we're going to spend the weekend. We got my uncle's getting married. It's going to be a big ordeal. So it'll be super fun to have all the generations together. That's
Jody. Yes.
Jody. Listen, and that's another thing we'll share. Like we tried for a year and it was very super difficult. And I mean, obviously for us, it's a little bit more expensive because we actually have to pay for the man. Pause.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's another thing where it's like if you go back and watch, like it was all the no's take a toll on Colleen and it takes a toll on me watching it take a toll on her. And so I think we were just kind of like, hey, breaks, pause. Like,
I mean, listen,
let's just enjoy what we got going on here.
Yeah. And I can say that I'm stronger than I was when we were trying for Bubs. But at the same time, trying for that second one for that year, it was
tough.
I still felt the same thing. And, it's a conversation, it's not never on the table, but it's also, we don't put pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. We haven't taken it off the table at all.
Right.
But also again, no pressure.
But also the thing too, he's our focus and making sure that he gets everything that he needs and we're just navigating the craziness that is going on right now. And we have to be realistic and we have to see what happens. Everybody knows like the world is very expensive these days. Everything is going up and, we have to decide and prioritize some stuff. So.
But for right now, I have to get ready to go watch the debate so I can laugh my ass off a little bit and see what happens. So I can
Yep.
Otherwise, guys, thanks for hanging out with us.
I got a long list of stuff going on. My wife has been
Appreciate
doing the
you.
work. So
We have a
look at that.
really fun guy tomorrow, Tucker McLemore. He was a semifinals athlete. We're gonna chit chat with him for a little bit. He's got like 4 or 5 kids. Like, I don't know how you do that,
Brave.
bro, and owns a gym.
Brave.
Then we got
and as a semifinals athlete, like
Yeah.
crazy.
I got Susan on Sunday.
Boss.
The boys are back in town on Monday, and freaking Jan has already put me in a WhatsApp group chat with him and Jake Chapman. So I don't even want to look at my phone right now, but we're gonna get that going on Monday, and then Pedro next week at the end of next week. So hang out with us. We love you guys.
All right.
You're awesome.
Bye,
See you later.
guys.